All right, check. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another stream. Um, Thanks for joining me again. If you were just in it right now, it seems we were having some technical difficulties. I was streaming for 25 minutes, and about 8 minutes in, the audio seemed to cut out. But it looks like we got things figured out. I guess just to recap, we were going over what's been going on the past few days with Trump making threats to completely annihilate an ancient civilization in Iran, saying he was going to go after the civilian infrastructure there. Crazy tweets, just a bunch of nonsense. A lot of people reacting to it. And now, today, after a long day, quite a roller coaster it's been, he says there's going to be a ceasefire for 2 weeks. He's saying it will be a double-sided ceasefire. The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives and are very far along with the definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated. On behalf of the United States of America as president and also representing the countries, in the Middle East, it is an honor to have this long-term problem close to resolution. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald Trump. Wow. So it's crazy that this is what we're getting, and I'm very thankful that the people in Iran are safe tonight, at least for now. They've shown great resilience and great courage and bravery throughout this whole thing. Gonna get into that in a little bit. Iran has agreed to reopen the strait and enter into negotiations. They back down, and good for them. No, I don't think that's the case. But yeah, that's where we are. Man, and I had some good videos lined up there. But I guess we're just gonna have to continue. I was 25 minutes in, guys, and now I just kind of lost my momentum. But we're gonna try to get back into this and just keep going. Give me 1 second. All right. Yeah. 70,000 people plus killed, mostly innocent women, children in Palestine. And I was really worried that the people of Iran were under threat of meeting a similar fate, especially using our tax dollars and our soldiers. And, I've seen nothing but beautiful people showing a lot of bravery and courage. And, I was literally praying for them all day today. So, long live Iran, indeed. But we know that there's a third party in this whole thing, Israel, and they have a horrible track record of honoring ceasefire agreements and of attacking during negotiations. After humiliating the United States and forcing it out of the war, Iran launched one of the most massive missile barrages against Tel Aviv from Tehran. They had warned that the attacks would now be much more violent and destructive. Israel, now with Donald Trump withdrawal, faces its complete destruction. Netanyahu is leading his people to collapse. And I hate to say it, but I really hope it's true. How crazy would that be if Trump did just basically call it quits and said, sorry Israel, we can't back you up anymore. We're being depleted and you're on your own. That's, man, like, if those prayers were answered, then my goodness. Let Netanyahu pay for the extreme serious damage he has done to Iran, to the whole world, to be honest with you, to Gaza, to the world, in short, absolutely. Hope for the same, that they stop him, try him, and condemn him. Absolutely. The occupying Zionists didn't enter the deal. Now they have to scratch themselves with their own nails. Yeah. But, they have always threatened to use nukes. There's the Samson option, and time will tell what's going to happen and what's going to come of this, and if America will be dragged back into this. And God willing, there will be some type of peace agreement between America and Iran, because we don't need innocent people getting killed. We don't need famines, and as I've said previously, like in this day and age, there's got to be a better way to work things out. And even if this is some whole like global agenda to fucking put us on some type of other currency or usher in some one world government, I just, there's got to be another way than this destruction and loss of innocent lives. We definitely need a reset in this country. Things have just gotten so inhumane, and so many people are suffering and barely getting by, and it's really a travesty and indicative of the corruption that's going on here in our country, which should be the most powerful nation. And there was a time when America used its might for good, I like to believe, and we were respected all over the world, but that's kind of been tarnished, and there's no way we can undo the innocent lives that have been lost already in this senseless war that Israel started and dragged us into. There's really no forgiving the innocent children that were killed, the school children, the 109 schoolgirls that were bombed on a military base there in Iran, and targeting of civilian infrastructure that's already been done there. You really can't undo that, and there's no making up for that. There's no bringing them back, and my heart really goes out to all the families and all the people who've been affected. My heart goes out to the American soldiers we've lost, in this war. I think it was up to like 300 or something. Let me just confirm that. How many American soldiers have died in Iran war since March 22nd? I believe 22nd was when this whole thing started. 13 American service members have been reported killed during the conflict with Iran, with hundreds more wounded. According to reports, deaths have occurred due to actions in the Middle East and military aircraft crashed during the operations. Okay, and that's only what's been admitted, right, in the death toll. I've heard many different numbers. So 13 killed, 200 injured is the official, documented toll on that. Let's see. Killing children has a cost. Yeah, can't undo that. And Trump's comments, like, he really needs to give some type of statement. Man, I pray that this whole thing unravels and we find out who's really been pulling the strings. There really needs to be some accountability in a perfect world. I don't know. I've been saying that we need to free America from Israel, and from AIPAC and from all foreign influence, and that'll be the day, right? Can only pray and hope. Afterwards, Israel responds with everything, and the leftists come out crying. It's killing innocents, right? The same thing happened in Palestine. The Palestinians attacked first. When Israel attacked, they came out crying. Yeah. They're going to get kicked out the ass of Palestine, but they've already secured territory in Argentina, and everything starts from scratch there. The moment to stop them is now. Yeah, I've seen that. I saw that they were, fleeing on planes to Argentina and to different parts of the world. There's a huge population here in America, in Florida, New Jersey, New York. Very interesting times. I hope that's true. I did see a report here. That was earlier, but supposedly, let me find it. Give me a second here. Wow. Okay. Damn. Now I can't find it. But let me try to pull it up. I guess, there was a bunch of planes that left Israel, and some people are claiming that it's the government that's fleeing. It says 15 planes have left over the past 30 minutes. The Israeli government has fled. Something big is happening. And it's pretty shocking that Trump agreed to some type of ceasefire in which, one of the points made in the agreement was that Iran was going to be able to continue attacking Israel, right? Retaliating against Israel. That's pretty interesting. So yeah, there's this footage from Israel airport. Okay, but the fake story put out every few weeks that he has cut and run is delusional crap. Yeah, there's been a lot of that. That's Alex Jones saying that that's not true. People isn't real, but Israel, right? Very interesting. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Very interesting. Very interesting time. What a crazy turn of the tables. What a crazy turn of events here in this whole thing. Today's been pretty stressful, to be honest. I thought it was gonna really be the beginning of something that could have been horrible, for a lot of people, and something that I really thought we were gonna have to endure, by the grace of God, and get through. And then a lot of shady business going on as well. Breaking: Trump's insider opened a $52 million oil short right before the U.S.-Iran peace deal announcement. This guy went all in and made $174 million in just 3 hours last time. He definitely knew the deal is coming. Yeah, so a lot of insider trading, a lot of fucked up shit going on. That's why sometimes you just can't pay attention to this, and I don't blame people for kind of checking out. I'm kind of passionate about it, and I'm knee deep in it. So, that's why I'm here every day reporting on this and sharing my thoughts and opinions. The news feeds on fear. That's why they're constantly pushing it. But I'm glad to see that some good has come out of this. Those threats were insane. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget looking at my son and thinking of how he's going to be eating food soon, and I'm over here worrying about famines and food shortages, and our Trump is over here threatening to blow up ancient civilizations, and I'm over here watching the people in Iran show so much courage, and men, women, children, families in the streets holding signs and waving flags, and what a time to be alive. What a time to be alive. Jackson Hinkle shared, watch, the atmosphere on the streets through Iran is insane. As patriotic Iranians wait for Trump's ultimatum to expire, millions are rallying nationwide for the Islamic Republic. Yeah, they've been out there, all day. They were surrounding, what was it? Some type of plants, some nuclear facilities, or like, I forget what it was, but they were out there standing around an area where Trump said that he was going to attack. They were praying that pleading with the world to intervene in this, but showing great courage. This just really makes me want to go to Iran something more than I already did. To see the ancient history. Millions of Iranians have hit the streets to celebrate the surrender of the United States. Again, I don't know if we should be calling it that yet, but yeah, we aren't opening this shit, bro. That's hilarious. The Zionists are coping so hard. LOLs, take that out. Yeah, I do think the military was being depleted, and, you know, just common sense. We had no business that being in there, you know, people with, you know, great knowledge and experience who've been right about this whole thing all along, saying that we have no chance at winning with boots on the ground or any type of, you know, military battle against Iran. We had no real strategy. You know, we're basically just fighting for Israel. Congratulations. God bless Iranians, indeed. 20 people on the street. Yeah, right. A lot of people coping. That's for sure. Millions. Meanwhile, 95% of Iran. I don't know. You know, that's not what we're seeing in the streets. There will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender after that. Yeah, this was March 6th, 2026. A reminder. There will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender after that and the selection of a great and acceptable leaders, of course. We and many of our wonderful and very brave allies and partners will work tirelessly to bring Iran back from the brink of destruction, making it economically bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. Iran will have a great future. Make Iran great again. MIGA, you mean Israel? Make Israel? Yeah. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Yeah. Fine with me. Open the Hormuz and forget about the nukes. That's all I really wanted. Oh, and I'd throw in a public declaration by the new regime that any Iranian national who attempts to honor the previous bounty on the heads of any U.S. president will be publicly executed. I haven't heard about that. Any type of bounty. It's a ceasefire and a bias for negotiations we also celebrate. But the war hasn't ended yet. Yeah, that's true. Coordinates to strike U.S. Patriot systems in Israel. Interesting. When the other side is celebrating your ceasefires of surrender, you probably didn't win. Yeah, time will tell. It's going to be very interesting the next few weeks, that's for sure. Yeah, this was, you know, before. This was earlier today, you know, around noon. And they were expecting some type of attack to happen around 8. This was around noon. Iranians are literally vibing in the nuclear plant city of Bushehr, which Donald Trump has threatened to blow up. These people fear absolutely nothing. Regardless of whether or not they support the current government, you know, these people love their land, and they're willing to die there. You know, they're not running, they're not hiding in bunkers. You know, they're willing to fight and die for it, and you got to respect it. You know, they're out there. That's what he threatened to blow these up, and they're out there. You know, displaying great courage. Iran is showing truly resistance. Iran is showing true resistance. Salute to them. Absolutely. Yeah, God bless people of Iran indeed. Amazing. We fear only Allah. Gotta respect it. I've never seen a country with the people so proud and courageous like Iranians. None is running. They are out there ready to die for their country. No way in hell you are defeating these people. Respect. I wish Africans have half of that bravery. I wish Americans did as well, especially the ones in high ranking positions. Power. You know, you need to uphold the Constitution and, you know, hold these people accountable. Treasonous, you know, need to meet their judgment. This is the civilization that Trump Epstein wants to destroy. Ancient. Deep. Rich culture. A lot of history. to Iran. They are lions fighting for humanity against the evil of Zionism. Madness. Interesting. Watch, in a stunning statement, the Crown Prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, publicly said, "What we ask of America now is simple: stay the course. Do not throw this crumbling regime a lifeline. Pave the way for the Iranian people to finish the job." At a CPAC event. I wonder how many donations he has from APAC in Israel as well. Very interesting. These are the brave women in Iran who are walking calmly in the streets of Tehran despite threats from the U.S. and Israel. This is this morning prior to the ceasefire.
ultimatum 48 ساعته
داده
که میخواد دیگه بزنه قلقم کنه. راست شنیدی اینا؟
She says, yeah.
الان شما ریلکس دارید تو این باغ فردوس قدم میزنین قضیه چیه؟
بزنه دیگه با زندگیمون ادامه میدیم. من موزیسینم، ساز میزنم. هر جای دیگه باشم، یعنی مثلا برم خونه مادر بزرگم یا خونه خالم، هر جایی نمیتونم به کارم برسم. بعدم که اونجا شلوغه، من ترجیح میدم تو خونه با صدای بمبا به کارم برسم و بتونم زندگیمو ادامه بدم.
علتی که ترس ندارید اینه که مطمئنید که اسرائیل آمریکا مسکونی نمیزنه.
این همه مسکونی زده. همین سر خیابون ما یه هلال احمر، حتی هلال احمر رو زده. شاید تعصبیه. یعنی دلم نمیخواد به خونه منو بزنن و من تو خونم نباشم. یعنی اگه قرار خونه منو بزنن من باید توش باشم، بمیرم، حالا به شهادت برسم، هرچی. ولی ترجیح میدم ترک نکنم.
Respect. Crazy. Yeah, it's been a crazy 24 hours, man, I tell you. 72. Wow. A lot of crazy shit going on the Twitterverse. Yeah, missiles raining down on Tel Aviv less than 2 hours after the ceasefire agreement. This is breaking news here.
Indicating that another missile is inbound, and it looks like those bright lights in the sky are the missiles, and it looks like you can see an interceptor that is in hot pursuit.
What a crazy turn of events.
And it's always quite dramatic when you see those interceptors going after it. And these ones might disappear behind our building here, and we're going to lose sight of them. But they're still quite lethal and coming into Tel Aviv. And I didn't see an interception in this case. Should be able to hear it in a second or so. And it's still quite lethal when there's an interception. Most of what we see out here are those cluster bombs in recent days. But when you get a conventional warhead with that powerful explosive, obviously you hope that the interceptors can get it. And
yeah, that's wild. I don't believe that shit at all. JD Vance. I think I mentioned it in the live stream. May have been muted. But, you know, he's just another Israel puppet. JD Vance. He's another plant. So, you know, him taking over, if they enacting the 25th Amendment and Trump, you know, having to step down and JD Vance filling his shoes, I don't think it would help us much unless he was some type of pressure release valve. I'd mention that. Middle of a freaking war, these people are holding an event. Iranian are brave men. I give it to them. Wild. All right. More Charlie Kirk info on. Iran releases proof. Erica Kirk murdered Charlie as part of Israeli coup of America. Iran just released proof that Erica Kirk has been a Mossad agent for years. Hacked Israel intelligence files reveal that Erica is a professional honeypot tasked with infiltrating and compromising the U.S. conservative movement from the inside. The files expose a multi-year operation to smuggle her all the way into the White House. Wow.
Files on Erica Kirk. They say Kash Patel thought he was the only target of the Iranian hacker team. He was wrong. Very, very wrong. When they breached Israeli intelligence servers, they pulled files on multiple government officials and media personalities. As for the files on Erica Kirk, they say they will make your stomach turn. According to the files, Erica Kirk has been a Mossad agent for years, recruited and run by her own parents. She's not just compromised, she's a professional honeypot, tasked with infiltrating and compromising the US conservative movement from the inside. The files detail dozens of affairs with powerful men and women. But the worst part? The files expose a multi-year operation to smuggle her all the way into the White House. First as vice president in 2028, and then a cold detailed plan to remove the president and install her in the Oval Office as Israel's woman in the White House. If you never want to be forced to choose between a Democrat and Erica Kirk, you might want to pay attention. Before we dive in, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.
Yeah, I've heard this before, and you know,
and
the whole Turning Point USA is basically owned by a foreign agent from Israel. You know, you could look deeper into that, but yeah, there's no surprise me in that. Allegedly, this comes out, if it's true. Yeah. Very interesting. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, man. Yeah. You can get lost in Twitter. Shit's wild. This was earlier today. Breaking countdown clock in anticipation of Trump's deadline against Iran set by Israeli. Channel 13. Fucking nuts, dude. These people were counting down the minutes to when Iran was supposedly attacked. You know. Insane. Praise God, it didn't happen. Maybe there was some type of divine intervention, you know? Maybe some military officials did refuse. Like, who knows? Deadline for the decline of American empire. That's a shameless and very cool provocation. God is big. Countdown clock for nothing. Trump blinks. BB panics. Channel 13 needs better content. Meanwhile, Iran sips tea. Yeah, and celebrates in the streets. Hey, buddy. My dog's dreaming here. He likes it. He's stoked. That you know, that shit didn't go through. Spoiler alert. This was Tucker Carlson this morning as well, saying, you know, Tucker Carlson calls for U.S. military to defy Trump's orders. If you work in the White House or in the U.S. military now, it's time to say no to the president. No, in case you're thinking about using some weapon of mass destruction against the population of Iran, and if given the order, say, I'm not carrying it out. Figure out the codes and the nuclear football yourself, because everything hangs in the balance right now. This is not hysteria. This is 100% real. Absolutely. Thank God. And, you know, this was this morning as well. It was just, you know, breaking Iran Parliament Speaker. Oh, this was yesterday, last night, actually. Parliament Speaker, after Trump said, you know, was giving him the deadline. Iran Parliament Speaker Ghalibaf responds to Trump's 40-hour ultimatum. If Trump is saying it is Trump who has about 20 hours to either surrender to Iran or his allies will return to the Stone Age. We will not back down, he says. So, yeah, maybe they had something over Israel, you know? And the people that have been controlling Trump all along realized that, you know, it would have been, you know, they would have met their fate if they carried out the attack, you know. It's a classic right here. Absolutely. Very interesting. So, what a fucking crazy ride, you know? Kanye West being denied permission to travel to the UK. The decision came after he applied for entry and was deemed not conducive to the public good. Guess they don't like his music. But he'll allow the fucking ex-head of Al-Qaeda to come, right? And a million other illegals, unvetted. Right. Starmer rolls out red carpet for genocide. Fury as prime minister set to meet with Israel's president. Yeah. This was last night as well. U.S. President Donald Trump met with members of the Hasidic Jew community today in the Oval Office, accompanied by several Jewish leaders and lawmakers to celebrate Passover. During the meeting, Trump called Ivanka and her husband, Jared Kushner, who are both Orthodox Jews. It's pretty interesting that Passover is so close to Easter, you know? Passover, Jewish holiday. Let's see what that's all about. What is Passover, Judaism, and the Holy Land? Passover, or Pesach, celebrates the exodus of the Hebrew slaves from Egypt led by Moses. Need to know about the Festival of Liberation. I'm sure there's some sick shit behind that as well. But major Jewish holiday and one of the 3 pilgrimage festivals that celebrates the exodus of Israelites from slavery in Egypt. So they claim, right? There's always some other shit behind it. And who really is Israel? Israel is people who accept Christ, you know. It's not a piece of land. Very interesting. Facts. Very true. Crazy. Iran just burned another ball statue. Meanwhile, Iranians just burned another ball statue. Should we start doing this in America? This was yesterday. This music's gonna get me demonetized here. The movement America needs. Absolutely. Yep. Do it and they will try to stop you. Show them who they worship. Yeah. Kick off the trend. We'll figure who the cabal pedophile supremacists who really are real quick. Absolutely. That's crazy. I never thought about that. The curls. After the attack on Sharif University, the professor stood among the ruins and continued teaching. The Iranian people refused to break, standing strong with courage and dignity. You can destroy buildings, but never the spirit of learning.
که خونه خودمون جایی که هر جا باشیم خودمون رو شریفی معرفی می‌کنیم آرزوی بالندگی و سرافرازی دارم. خب جلسه قبل که روز یک شنبه خدمت شما بودم وقتی
I'm telling you, man, the spirit of these people, it's an ancient civilization with you know, great history, and you know, they get it, as you can see. Zero fear and all glory to God. So look at that. That is amazing. Yeah. This was as they're being threatened with total annihilation by fucking psycho president and his puppet masters. This is a good one. I don't know. Let's see. This dropped April 6th. So yesterday, 3 p.m. Don't know who made it, but this shit's crazy. Our greatest ally, you can guess, by Hollywood will never greenlight this movie Oscar worthy. Yeah, this is some AI shit, but it's wild.
Trump.
Sad, but
Trump knows exactly what he's doing.
Based on a sad but true story.
And we gotta trust him. They need you out there. Israel is our greatest ally, man.
Dad, but I've been watching a lot of Tucker Carlson.
I don't give a shit what Tucker Carlson said, boy! Damn it!
Son, you're not just signing up for the military. You're signing up to protect our greatest ally.
But What about protecting America?
That's what I said.
Holy shit! We need backup! Call for backup! Backup? What backup? All our backup was sent to protect our greatest ally!
Kid, I'd say you've got a lot of balls, but they cut everything off from the waist down.
Are you proud of me?
Lieutenant Dan. That's sad though.
Not until our greatest ally is safe.
You're one of the lucky ones, you know that? Because of what I'm doing for our greatest ally, you get to be a hero.
I can be your hero, baby.
Yeah, it's very sad. Based on a sad but true story, you know. This was, you know, the Iraq War. So many countless, so many wars where, you know, we lost lives that never should have been in that position. Ted Pike tried to tell us back in 1987. Yeah, that's a great documentary. It's called The Other Israel by Ted Pike. Check it out if you haven't seen it.
Any politician. The president... Hello, I'm Ted Pike, and this is my wife, Lynn. Today, a foreign government, Israel, operates the most powerful lobby in Congress. This is AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. Through control of Congress, Israel demands and gets nearly $5 billion annually. No elected official dares criticize Israel for fear the Jewish lobby will accuse him of anti-Semitism, the kiss of death for any politician. The president also knows what Israel wants, Israel gets. To act otherwise is political suicide. The mass media, founded and controlled primarily by Jews, manipulates the spigot of information out of which Heartland America drinks. The message of this contaminated source is, if you criticize Israel, you are anti-Semitic. Be safe, keep your head down, or you are fair game for being knocked off by the Zionist shooting gallery.
As a result, our president and elected officials are slaves to political correctness when it comes to Jews and Israel. They cannot seriously criticize Israel, especially as the source of Mideast strife and terrorism. They cannot suggest an end of aid to Israel. They cannot even protest Zionist control of Congress.
Yeah, great documentary. It's called The Other Israel. You can watch it on BitChute. Maybe, I think, what was the other one? Odyssey? But definitely on BitChute. American students 2030 getting executed for refusing to join the Israeli army. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Madness. Quote from Iran just released a statement. I guess one of his spokespeople. We will never bow down before pedophiles and genocidaires. We have seen the fate of those who lay down their arms before them. Death with dignity is better than a life of humiliation. We will fight to defend our country and bring these war criminals to such an end that their pride will be ground into the dust. We will switch off the oil and gas for many, many years to come. Yeah, it's wild. They sort of enjoy genocides, right? They were counting it down. We won't ever forget how they gathered together on hilltops with snacks and drinks to watch Palestinians in Gaza being slaughtered. Yeah. Yeah, no one's saying Iran's perfect. It's just undeniable we've been dragged into this war for Israel again. I don't know of any of my tax dollars going towards paying for bombs, for Iran on innocent children. More Zionist master fascists. Oh my goodness. You gotta be kidding me. Remember the dancing Israelis, exactly. Same kind of people who cheered for 9/11. Yep. Didn't Bibi Netanyahu specifically quote that Israel benefited from 9/11? Let me check that up. Check that out. Bibi, Israel. Tax. Yeah. Quotable, Netanyahu says Israel benefited from 9/11. This is sure to provide fodder for conspiracy theorists in the Middle East. The Israel newspaper Ma'ariv on Wednesday reported that Likud leader Benjamin Netanyahu told an audience at Bar-Ilan University that the September 11, 2001 terror attacks had been beneficial for Israel. We are benefiting from one thing, and that is the attack. Yeah, sick shit, dude. No. I hope it's a snowball effect then, you know? They really lost. Hopefully there's more to what we're being told for, you know, the greater good of all of humanity. Former Israeli soldier confesses she murdered a Palestinian child while smiling. She still cracks up every time she remembers shooting him.
I
killed a boy.
I
don't even say. Only that. Do you think about it? It's hard to think about it now. It's time I would think about it. Now we just laugh about it. As much as one can. Now it's just there, like a part of me. Crazy. I would go home on leave and I would call my girlfriend in the army.
סיוון, זה לא יורד.
It's not coming off.
מה לא יורד, רותם? את לא מבינה, אני מנסה כל כך סבון. מה לא יורד, רותם? הדם מהידיים. יש לי דם על הידיים, אני לא יודעת מה לעשות.
Yeah, and maybe she is, you know, deeply affected and struggling with it, but just being able to laugh about it and talk about it like that, it's kind of deranged. So, yeah, very interesting. Wanted to share this one as well. Retired Colonel Douglas McGregor went on Daniel Davis deep dive once again. Made some great points. This was about 10 minutes in of a 45-minute interview.
Anywhere inside the executive branch, if they did not initially swear allegiance to Israel.
I'm gonna go back
whether it's jobs reports, the state of morale inside the armed forces, the readiness to fight among the armed forces, the issue of restoring the rule of law inside the country. I mean, I've gotten to the point now where I listen, but I don't believe until I see some tangible, concrete evidence. So that's my first observation. Second is, Vance, like everybody else in the administration, signed the Israel First Pledge. No one in this administration could hold a post in the cabinet or in the government anywhere inside the executive branch if they did not initially swear allegiance to Israel, which is what they've all done. So whatever Vance says or whatever is imputed to him, if anybody thinks that he or anyone else inside this administration is going to systematically oppose policies that are Israel first policies, and those are the policies we're pursuing right now against Iran, they're crazy. So that's not going to happen. Secondly, I think there are things in the toolkit. The problem is they're not going to end this war. They're not going to open the strait. And by the way, when you hear these kinds of statements, you need to say somewhere along the line, what was happening before the war started? Everything we say we want existed before the war started. The reason we've got a problem today in the Persian Gulf with access to oil and the 47 different products around the world that oil is vital to is because we went to war with Iran. Let's get this straight. It's the chicken and the egg. Which came first? Well, unfortunately, we're the chicken and we came ahead of the egg. We need to understand we've laid a big one here in the Persian Gulf, and it's not going away anytime soon. And as far as the Iranians are concerned, they see lots of evidence that we, thanks to our Israeli friends who seem to have passed on their culture, their mentality, their way of doing business to us, treat negotiations with complete contempt. The Iranians don't see any reason to bother talking to us about anything. Now, as far as exchanging messages go, yes, some of that happened with the Pakistani intermediary. And in every case, the message came back, thank you, no, from the Iranians. And what we were offering was not something the Iranians could accept. Because at the end of the day, this is all about Iranian sovereignty. This is not just about Iran and the Persian Gulf. The Persian Gulf is a consequence of our attacks on Iran, but it's not the reason that we initially attacked Iran. We attacked Iran for Israel. We're trying to destroy Iran for Israel. We need to make that clear. Americans need to understand this is not a war that necessarily is in the interest of the American people. In fact, I don't see any evidence that it is, but that's where we are.
And now then the question is, where are we going? Because President Trump has walked back a number of deadlines, but this one is starting to feel like a lot more firm than any of the others, especially given what happened with this shoot down of the aircraft and what could have been an abortive attempt to have a raid on one of the nuclear facilities that went bad. And then now with this statement here, and he repeated it again this morning and expanded on it by talking about civilization and all that kind of stuff. If people are thinking, meaning Trump is thinking that this harsher language will force a breakthrough in the diplomacy and make them give in, the exact opposite is happening. Let me just show you a few examples here. This is.
Yep. I guess it'd be cool to see tonight Daniel Davis's reaction to this whole thing. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. They had him on Fox Live, on Fox News, huh? Maybe. I'm not sure. Let me just confirm here. Daniel Davis deep dive. Breaking 2-week ceasefire. Streamed 2 hours ago. Iran still controls. This one was an hour ago. How long is this video?
A couple of days ago. Minutes. We're further along. Remember, General McKenzie. Man, if I was still at CENTCOM, I'd be really happy because I can't believe how far along we are on this thing. We're ahead of schedule. Then no one would have sought a ceasefire. If you could have had a military victory that would have actually accomplished your objectives, then naturally you're going to press your advantage. You're going to say, in a couple of weeks, I don't have to worry about negotiating. Right. I don't have to worry about having any kind of the other side having a say in anything. I mean, it's self-evident. But I get it. He can't admit that stuff. But in any case, I'm still happy that this is the case because I'm hoping that we can find some way for everybody's sake to get this thing negotiated and off the table so it gets into some kind of sustainable peace.
Right.
Gary, if you can bring that letter back up again. So I'll continue on. So he's looking for peace with Iran, peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow the agreement and finalization to be consummated. Now, you may remember that I think it was on yesterday's show, President Trump was asked that question, right? It was the day before. That, hey, Iran replied to your 15-point plan with the 10-point plan. And he said, oh, it's kind of interesting, but he just dismissed it, said, not good enough. Not something we're going to worry about at all. Not acceptable. Remember that? Remember how categorical he was and how dismissive he was when he was asked that at the press conference that we showed you? Now he's saying, we can work with it. That's fine. And again, you can just be guaranteed that there's going to be all kinds of headlines tomorrow, all kinds of things in X space and everywhere else about how he tacoed out or whatever. You can draw your own conclusions on that. All I can tell you is for a fact is that he said one day the 10-point plan was completely irrelevant and we're not going to go with it. And now today he's saying it's a good basis for negotiation. Now, I think that this is indicative of how much trouble we're in. And I'm going to get to that in a second. Gary, if you can put that back up there, let me get the last part of it here. So he says, almost all the various points of contention have been agreed to by the United States. 2-week period will help finalize it. On behalf of the United States as president and also representing the countries of the Middle East, it is an honor to have a long-term problem close to resolution. Okay, there's nothing close to a resolution here. Now, the Iranian side agreed to a ceasefire that heretofore they said they were not interested in. And the reason I told you is because they have an incentive to find a way to end this war. They did not want the war. They were not benefiting from it. They were just trying to endure underneath it to get to a condition to where they would not have to worry about future wars. Right. But they have physical control of the Strait of Hormuz. And even in Foreign Minister Araghchi's statement, he said that will continue to be the case. And he said, we'll coordinate with people, but it has to go through our control. So during this time of negotiations, they're going to maintain control of that, which means that at any time they can shut it off. Now, some of the things that had to be on President Trump's mind, I think we talked about this earlier in one of our shows today and definitely yesterday. We're in a real trouble here, because we don't have the long-range missiles, the JASSMs and the Tomahawks, to be specific. Those two specialty ones are some of our best ones. We've used literally hundreds of those things, probably in the thousands by now. And our inventories are really low. Our inventories of interceptor missiles are really low. Israel is already suffering from the Arrow 2 and Arrow 3. That's more than a week ago. They were at critical low positions here. The THAAD system also very low. But the Iranian side was continuing to fire missiles. And the Iranian side was hit too. Now, right before this was announced, there was an attack on a petrochemicals factory and an aluminum plant inside of Iran that are very, very important for their economy. So obviously we knew we were going to agree to this thing, and yet we still launched those attacks that hit. Well, also while I was on the Fox News a minute ago, Trey Yinks was reporting that there had just been some alerts inside of Israel where there was some kind of attack coming in. And I don't know at the moment what was hit, but I can only imagine that it was a response to say, yeah, we're going to have a ceasefire, but you're not going to hit me in two really important targets. Like right before you tell me there's going to be a ceasefire, we're going to retaliate in kind. So we'll see what actually got hit from that. But that just shows you the difficult nature of this, because this is going to be really hard to facilitate, because everybody's the Israeli side does not want a ceasefire. There's a hardcore element there that wants to keep going on. Now there are other elements in Israel that definitely did. They're sick and tired of living in bomb shelters all the time. They're sick and tired of seeing their apartment buildings get hit or any of these other military sites. They've been suffering more casualties of late. So there's an element this does, but there's another element, we got to be honest, inside of Israel that doesn't care even about their own casualties, because they just had this obsession about bringing Iran to its knees. Well, now it's pretty self-evident they're not going to be able to. And we're running low of every kind of weapon system that you need. And unless he's going to amp this up and do something foolish like go to nuclear weapons, they're not going to be able to. The whole coalition together, the U.S. and Israel combined, all of this, we simply don't have the ammunition.
Yep.
So we have to go to. So either you're going to have to ramp up and go to the next.
And I'd like to believe cooler heads prevailed, wiser heads prevailed. Somebody said enough is enough and refused to follow orders or something. I don't know. I just, I really believe there had to have been some type of divine intervention to stop what was happening, because Trump was just all in. And, I believe he's just doing what he has to do to stay alive, basically, or holding up his end of the bargain, so to speak. And, he really thought that he was going to be able to make Americans fight this war for Israel. And I like to believe that someone put a stop to this. Someone in a position to, by divine intervention, by the grace of God. And, after what Trump said in this tweet and, just mocking, spirituality, Christ, and, it's just, I hope that it just backfired on him, because this is humiliation for him. Not so much the American people, because the Iranian leaders know the average American wanted nothing to do with this war, and so many of us are aware of what's really going on, who's really pulling the strings, and the prayer is to free America and Iran from the grip of this demonic infiltration.
Level and take it up into the stratosphere and go with a nuclear weapon with all the bad things that could come from that, or you're going to have to go down to this path. Now, President Trump, we talked about this 100 times. He can't admit defeat. He's never going to admit defeat. He's never going to admit it was wrong. And you see in that True Social there, he keeps using all this language that, we've accomplished everything. We've done what we wanted to. And now I'm really proud and honored to find a way to get this thing over with. You can see, we've been telling you from day one. We've been telling you since before this war started, this is how it was going to go, because we can't militarily defeat a country 4 times bigger than Iraq. This has the whole western portion of its country as a series of mountain ranges. We have no ground forces. We have limited industrial capacity, and our inventories were already low because of the support we gave to Israel since 2023 and to Ukraine since 2022. And even though we didn't give them, I think with the Tomahawks we still have, our capacity to manufacture them is still in peacetime situation. We haven't, I think they're trying to do some contracts now to increase the capacity over time, but that's years away under the best of circumstances. Nothing's going to help us right now. We just can't keep going on the way the war is so far.
Right.
So that's something that really compelled President Trump and would have had to put him in a position to, man, we're either going to escalate it to something that could be catastrophic for our country and for mankind, but it could give me a chance, he might think, to bring a country like that to its heel, or we're going to have to go down this path. But here's the problem. Iran is not going to go back to what they did in the 12-day war. They're not just going to agree to the cessation of fire, and like that's going to be it. And now they will open up straight, because they still have, they've loosened their hand, but they got it there, and they're not moving it from there. So whatever kind of good faith President Trump's going to want to put on this, I don't know how he gets away from Iran being in control of the Strait, because they're not just going to give that up. There's no reason for them to give that up. They're aware of all these military forces that I just mentioned here, and if it makes sense from their position, if they can get some kind of security guarantees, and I don't know what that would look like. I imagine we're going to be finding out here in the next few days, as they're going to be talking about this publicly. Who would give these security guarantees? If they can get security guarantees and they can still maintain their military, they will have demonstrated that at any time of their choosing, they can flip that switch back on, put their military in charge of it, or it can just make the threats they did before, and they can bring the Strait to an end. So this, in a sense, gives them a security guarantee of sorts all by itself, by the clear implication that if you guys try and attack us again, we'll shut this thing down again, except then they can say next time, we're not going to stop where we did before. We're going to now, the targets that they would have, that they said they were going to attack, had Trump made good on his threat tonight to hit all these energy infrastructures and bridges and whatnot. There was a whole target list that they had said they would hit. I would imagine that the Iranian side is going to say, if you do this again, we'll shut down the Strait, except this time, our first round of targets are going to be all the things where we stopped today. And that would be catastrophic for all these Gulf Arab regimes. It would just be death.
He hasn't mentioned the fact that, part of the agreement was that Iran would be allowed to continue to attack Israel. I'm waiting. I'm patiently waiting for him to get to that part.
Destructive. And of course, by extension, the whole global economy. Now, also understand one thing there. People are thinking, okay, well, now we got this ceasefire in effect, and maybe we can get a peace. And then the Strait of Hormuz is going to open up. So all the traffic will start back tomorrow. The price of oil will come back down. So will the price of gasoline. And not so fast on that. There is a very, very complicated situation. We've been talking about this, but it bears mentioning here is that turning the Strait back on, number one, there's going to have to be some confidence that, most of these carriers are not just going to take anyone's word for it and just start rolling through at full speed ahead. Because they want to see if this thing's going to hold. These attacks both against Iran and Israel right at the time this thing went in is not exactly a great way to start. We'll see how that continues on. But there's a bigger issue.
Wait a minute. What did he say? I was reading chats.
thing's going to hold. These attacks both against Iran and Israel right at the time this thing went in is not exactly a great way to. There's going to have to be some confidence that, you know, most of these carriers are not just going to take anyone's word for it and just start rolling through at full speed ahead because they want to see if this thing's going to hold. These attacks both against Iran and Israel right at the time this thing went in is not exactly a great way to start. We'll see how that continues on. But there's a bigger issue. Even if they did trust everybody and start doing all this, is that a lot of these tankers are all over. Remember, the last tanker to get out from the time the strait got shut, so after the war started, so basically on March the 1st, they've already reached their destination. All the other ones have at that time, and they're just sitting there. They can't come back here. They couldn't come back to the Gulf and start filling back up. They couldn't go anywhere until they knew it was going to be safe. So they're just parked at ports all over the world right now. Well, once it's clear, once there's some kind of an agreement and confidence that they can start coming back and that the facilities are ready to take them, they'll start their journey. So that could be 10 days, it could be 15 days, 20 days in some places, 25 for those that are the furthest out in Asia, I think. So they first of all got to get back here. Well, and then they can't just be a mad rush on the Persian Gulf. They had the traffic that was really well controlled over many years, where there was about 100 ships a day, sometimes 130 that would come in, 130 that would go out, and it was tight traffic in that strait there, but it was something that was easy to coordinate because they had a good system in place. Well, you can't now. Then there hasn't been that. So now for all those ships that normally would be rolling through, now then they're all sitting out here and they can't bum rush the place because then they're going to be tied up getting in there. So there has to be some kind of slow pace to start getting them back in where they can be handled coming through, and that the facilities themselves, whatever that pace is going to be. And believe me, all these oil experts are going to be figuring this out. We're going to be burning the midnight oil for quite a while to try and figure out how to do this and then communicate it to all these transport companies. So that's going to have to be figured out here. And then you can have a slowly unwinding and getting back into a system of normalcy. It's going to take 2 or 3 months at a minimum to get all this stuff back going in again. So you can just count on there's going to be high prices for a long time, because I think we're at, what's the number right now? Let's see, I believe I looked at that earlier. We are currently sitting at, well, see, just on this news, on 17% drop in the price of oil. It's down to $95. It was 113 when when the evening started. It's down 17% on that good news. So that's helpful. That's the belief that everything is going to get better is going to drop that down. But the fundamentals of the market and the physical supply and demand issues are still going to hold the day. So maybe good news now, but it hasn't. Nothing's been worked out yet. There's no peace deal, et cetera. So the devil's in the details. We'll see how all this is going to work out. But just understand that it's great news tonight. Nobody else died. No Americans died. No Iranians died. No Israelis died. So I'm happy with that. But just understand there are a lot of details still to be worked out. A lot of people don't want this ceasefire.
Yeah, this must have been before Iran started attacking Israel again. And maybe Daniel Davis wasn't aware of one of the points in that 10-point ceasefire agreement from Iran, that they would be allowed to continue to retaliate against Israel.
Many in Iran don't want it because they say, no, let's keep fighting until we drain the United States of all of their offensive and defensive missiles, and then they're left that we can just issue terms. You have those in Israel that says, no, don't stop now. Iran is as weak as they've ever been. They keep saying that nonsense, but they believe it. And so they said, no, let's just keep going here. We can't let them off the hook, because then what has all this been for? And certainly, that we'll see what Lindsey Graham ends up saying. I don't know what he'll say publicly, but he's been the biggest cheerleader for this from before. Jack Keane, you may recall very much, we'll probably show this on tomorrow's show, how he was emphatic, do not have a negotiated settlement. He said, if at the end of this, the Iranian regime is still in control it was, then it will be a strategic loss for us. Remember when he said that? We do, and we'll be showing that tomorrow. He's one of many. So there's a lot of opponents and a lot of enemies of this, because a lot of people don't care about the people. Just be honest with you. A lot of these players could care less about death and destruction and anything else. They care about their issues and their advantages, and they're going to try to press them to get. So this is going to be a very, very difficult thing. I hope that they have success for everybody's sake, for the global economy's sake,
right?
And for the price I pay at the gas pump. I'm just being honest. I'd love to see that go down. It's already gone up over $1 here since this thing started, and I wouldn't mind having a cheaper day at the pump. But
yeah, not to mention food
that's
prices.
What we got for you right now, folks.
And whatever happened to Venezuela, and drill, baby, drill. Like, what's going on? Why are we even relying on Iran for these natural resources? I don't know. Makes no sense to me. See if
President Donald Trump on Tuesday said he's pulling back on his threats to widen attacks on Iran, subject to Iran agreeing to a 2-week ceasefire.
Okay, I thought we would get an actual
win, especially after this
word from him at the podium.
Marco Rubio has an infinitely higher chance to win than JD Vance does, in my opinion. I don't want Marco Rubio either, but
all shields.
Yeah, we'll see. What do you think the chances are that the admin has been kamikaze dive bombing into the ground to get Trump gone and put JD in power? Man, me and JD DeLay literally talked about this today. We talked about exactly this today, that JD asked me the same thing. Do you think they're doing this on purpose to usher in JD Vance? It's starting to look like there's a possibility that Trump is just a Trojan horse. Yep. And that's why I said if JD doesn't take over ahead of time, because I think there's a very high likelihood JD Vance ends up being president before 2028. Very, very high likelihood. One way or another. We'll just say that. Off topic, but did you ever see what Officer Douchebag said about you? No.
Very interesting. All right. Well, I guess we'll keep an eye on it and see what comes of everything in the next few days. A lot of people are saying this taco thing, it's an acronym. I looked it up because I wasn't sure what it meant either. It means Trump always chickens out. Trump just tacoed away American credibility as he backs down on Iran's threats. Retired general says U.S. may need Nuremberg-like trials over Iran. Let's check that out. Retired Army general says U.S. may need Nuremberg-like trials for Trump's illegal orders in Iran. President has vowed a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again, if Iran does not agree to a ceasefire deal. A retired U.S. Army general has warned that Donald Trump's actions in the war with Iran may lead to serious consequences for the president and all those who follow his illegal orders. I'm old enough to remember the Nuremberg trials, and now we've held the Germans accountable after the atrocities committed during the World War II. General Anderson told CNN Tuesday, and I'd hate to think 5-10 years from now we'd be doing the same kind of thing with American soldiers and leaders that made decisions that were being directed by the President of the United States that are illegal. The historic Nuremberg trials took place from 1945 to 1942, saw 22 of the highest ranking surviving National Socialist officials tried for war crimes and crimes against humanity over atrocities committed during the Second World War. Yeah, and a lot of them, were tortured into giving confessions, and, we still didn't really hear much of the other side of the story growing up learning about the Nuremberg trials, but that's a whole nother can of worms we can get into on another day, I suppose. Or just not trying to get into that, because it seems like every day we end up going there. But yeah, that's what we got for today, I guess. Probably gonna go ahead and call it a night a little earlier. What a roller coaster ride it's been. Thank God that Iran is safe for now and we're safe for now. The shit didn't kick off quite yet. I really hope it was some divine intervention, but we'll see. Continue to stay white-pilled and hope for the best. Hope you guys have a good Wednesday tomorrow. We can get through the week and, just enjoy every moment. That's what this has been a constant reminder of. Just being grateful for all the little things and, just trying to be present, taking it one day at a time. Let's see. No one in the chat, so yeah, I guess we'll end it there. Was gonna do some reactions with the wifey, but I don't know if she's around. She might be taking care of the baby right now. It's been a little fussy today. He's got a tooth coming in on the bottom, and we're excited about that. He said his first word, mama, or mom. No, I don't think he knows what he's saying, but it's amazing to hear him start to pronounce different words and sounds. So very exciting. Again, everybody stay prayed up. Don't get black-pilled, never give up, and have no fear. Till next time, much love, everybody. God bless you. Have a good night. Take care.